Thank you for moving on to the next slide. So hi everyone, my name is Artu Nepomuceno. I've been a photographer here in the Philippines for the last 11 years. There are some familiar faces here that I've worked with in the past. First off, I just want to say thank you to Fish and everyone who has organized this event. I'm so glad to be here. So how do I start? My grandmother was born on June 12. And many years and one day after I was born. So to my family, independence has always been about family time. We didn't celebrate Independence Day. We celebrated my Lola's birthday. And somehow growing up, I realized that that was the same thing. It was the same story, the same celebration. We were loving the exact same thing. The family was getting together. We were eating a glorious meal, a very Filipino meal, home-cooked recipes, favorites of Lola, favorites of Mom, favorites of Tita, Tito, cousin, nephew, niece, everyone. And it was all put together. And I felt like that was my Independence Day. And I celebrated that on a regular basis. My grandmother was married to a filmmaker in the Philippines named Nepomuceno. If anyone knows the film industry, he directed films like Dahil sa Isang Bulaklak and other award-winning films that brought Philippine cinema on a global scale. His father was Jose Nepomuceno, known as the father of Philippine films. And growing up, it was an incredible amount of pressure to even think of taking or continuing that role. But I tried, and I'm still trying. I grew up with my grandfather. I never met my biological father. I grew up in the household of my grandfather, and I would actually say that he was brainwashing me growing up, and he made me look at the Philippines every day and study the life, study the stories of people, and understand how the consequence of life affected the narrative of people. And we did that every day. And that was like my practice. I didn't know math, I didn't know English, I didn't know science, I didn't know anything other than how light affected everything. And it was a purely visual life. And I say it's brainwashing today, but I'm extremely grateful that I grew up that way. So one day, I was in college and I was taking culinary arts where I wanted to become a pastry chef. I just saw that in my whole school, I was the least passionate about food amongst my peers. And I knew that I had no means of success if I stayed in that industry because there were just way too many passionate people out there and I wasn't one of them. So I joined this photo contest in school and I won against a bunch of MMA students and photography students. And then I went home and I spoke to my grandfather and I said, I want to shift. I want to become a movie maker like you. And he said, no, you can't. And he said, take photography first. And I was like, why photography? And he said, if you want to be able to create a story with 1,000 images, you have to be able to create a story first with one single image. And so take photography first. So since then, I've been in the pursuit of creating stories through single photographs. I'm not yet at the point where I can actually take 2 photographs and make it like into a film. I'm far from that. I'm still creating a story, one image at a time. So that's kind of my story. It's been 11 years in the publishing industry. I did. This happened a couple of months ago, and this has been by far the biggest milestone of my career. And it's not about me. I am just beyond lucky to have been witness to this whole story where pang-amoy is an institution. She's been the celebrity tattoo artist for 106 years already. And I was just so glad that I got to be part of this. And I was talking to Len a while ago about how if I had photographed Apawang on my own, I think it would have just reached a couple of Instagram likes. Because again, I'm no one beside an institution like Vogue and Apawang. So the credit goes to Vogue for putting Apawang on the stage and being recognized globally in probably the most positive way possible. To celebrate beauty through age, timeless beauty, to celebrate a wrinkle in time, to celebrate every single thing about these images. And you can ask my wife later if you want, she's right there after it. And I was extremely insecure about this photo shoot. I was worried for months before the shoot happened, and I was worried months after the shoot happened because I felt like I did not give justice to the person who you see there. We made so many preparations, and I felt like it just wasn't there. But it's also because this was one of the first times in my whole life where I photographed someone beyond the technicality of things, beyond my understanding of light, beyond my understanding of the concepts of storytelling. But the reason why I felt like it wasn't enough was because I approached Apawang and I didn't want to shoot her in an intellectual way. I didn't want to shoot her for the institution that she is globally, but I wanted to photograph her as my Lola. As simple as that. I came in and I wanted it to be coming home. I wanted to feel like I was going home to someone I hadn't seen in years, or someone that I felt guilty for not seeing in a while, because we tend to forget about our parents, we tend to forget about our grandparents when we're of a certain age of teenage angst or adult angst. But I came, it was a process of coming home to her. And I imagined my grandmother. I imagined how her grandchildren would want to photograph her. And I wanted to put it in that spirit and we photographed that. And that brought me that insecurity. But when the cover came out and the world saw it, and the way the love people have given Apawang just gave, just confirmed, affirmed, and everything that I felt insecure about, and just everyone understood that it's all about family. And what better way for the Philippines to be recognized once again for the spirit of family. We've been known for so many things. Jokoy, Pacquiao, my uncle, we've been known for so many things in the industry, in the world. But for the spirit of family, that's different. It's different. And beauty is a different level. So, I think I'm already beyond my 5 minutes. But I think, well, these are just random slides of my random work in the Philippines. But I wanted to talk more about the spirit of the Filipino spirit. And I want to bring up a line that my high school teacher in economics brought up and said that the Philippines is export-oriented and import-dependent. She said that 20 years ago, or something of that sort. And that line bothered me all these years. And unconsciously, for many years, I felt a certain degree of shame with that line, knowing that that was kind of understood for the Philippines, that we gave so much out, but we also depended on so much coming in from abroad. Maybe it was our colonial mindset or whatnot, but we were so dependent on bringing something in from another country. And considering that as of today we have 7,641 islands, we have 120 plus dialects into the Philippines, and we have around 120 major indigenous groups in the Philippines. Why are we dependent on the outside when we have so much to offer? So, to just finish it off, one of the glorious moments or achievements that came after Apawang was I was invited to do a talk in a workshop with the Obama Foundation about Apawang, and that was really something. And they had a really good question which I kind of want to bring back here, and it was, what would you call the Filipino spirit? And this was a community of maybe 2 Filipinos and the rest were like 40, 50 foreigners. So it was a nice stage to kind of try to answer that. So I thought about it, and my answer was very simple, and that the Filipino spirit is home. That's what we're good at. We, anywhere in the world, any Phil-Am, any OFW, any Filipino that you see or come across abroad, any Filipino that you visit, you will always go to the same home. Full of love, full of food, and full of fiesta, full of, and conversations about what is back home. It's always bringing back home. People have messaged me about the Wangod cover, and and one thing I couldn't help but say was, I'm so happy that I get to bring a little piece of home back to you. And now it's tangible. The Vogue cover is printed, and then now it rests in many Filipino homes around the whole world. But now to finish it off, I want to say, just to echo what Tita Krish mentioned a while ago, is that another Filipino trait is motherhood. I think that has been one of the most incredible things to witness as a Filipino family, is that no one can beat a Filipino mother and their cooking. So, yeah, so again, thank you for having me. And